get to the papers. Mr. Akara is a member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Is joining us from Abuja today. Mr. Akara, good morning and welcome to the program.
Absolutely. A pleasant morning to you, Geoffrey, Kelly, and Bukola this morning. It's nice to see you guys looking good.
Thank you so much. And of course, we're going to binge, allow you binge on some of the thoughts we've shared. Federal might and no federal might. It's as realistic as it is. But let's, whilst you're trying to comment on that, let me get to the first paper. And this Nigeria, there are two stories I would like you to talk about. 2027 now campaigns begins. Presidential candidates signed peace pacts. Tinubu represented Obi, Showore, Adebayo signed. Conflicting reports on Atiku. And then just above that, we have some record numbers of FAC. FG state LGAs share 3.007 trillion revenue for July. Mr. Akara.
Well, it's interesting that yesterday the peace accord again was signed. Let's not forget that the National Peace Committee in 2014 established the National Peace Accord, where, I look at it as, an electoral ritual where leading presidential candidates, governors, and maybe National Assembly members, they converge at a spot to sign a document they call a peace accord, which, of course, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure most Nigerians will look at this peace accord with some reservations, because at the end of the day, many of these politicians really do not abide by the tenets, the principles, the spirit of the accord itself. So that's why I call it a ritual. They just gotta sign it, they walk away, and then once the campaign starts, you still see violence, you see killings, and a complete jettison of the accord that they have signed. We saw it in the Osun elections. After all, the governor, Demola Adeleke, by the way, I congratulate him. He has done very, very well. He has just shown that, when you work for the people, Nigerians do not forget. They will always find a way to reward you when election comes. So it is not about mobilizing anybody to put pressure on voters. Nigerians have come of age. What is biting everybody now is clear. So by January and February next year, I am sure that voters will vote in accordance with their conscience and the realities that is confronting them. So with regards to the peace accord, I don't take it seriously, because there is no implementation, there is no enforcement for those that breaches what they have signed, the agreement they have signed. It is just a moral document, and the expectation is that once you sign, naturally you will abide by it as a gentleman. But when you abide by it in the breach, what then happens? There's no enforcement, no sanctions. So that is why I just called it maybe some kind of ritual, really. But with regards to the FAC allocation, it is growing, it is increasing. That is why many of the governors are very happy with the president, and some of them actually left their traditional parties and joined the ruling APC because for the reasons that they gave. Some said because the federal government under the current leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been able to evoke some ingenuity to raise the federal allocation such that states are not getting billions of naira, and they have a lot to pay their staff, embark on development projects. It is good. But again, to what extent are Nigerians benefiting from these huge largesse that the states are getting? The results are yet to be seen across the state, apart from a few states, a handful of states that you can just count on. Particularly states in the southern part of Nigeria, states in the east, in the north, not much is heard. Well, maybe because of insecurity, so nobody is able to focus on what the governors they are really doing. Again, that can also open the windows for corruption, for many of these funds to be stolen by some of the governors who will hide under insecurity, that they are fighting security not to develop their states, and use these vast resources for the general good of the people of their state. So it's an ongoing conversation, and I'm sure that as we move into the election, the campaigns are starting officially today. They have about 159 days, or there are about 160 days campaign window before the elections eventually take off. So we'll wait and see how all of this pan out in the coming weeks and months.
Well, let's get to the Guardian newspaper now, which gives us an insight into the thinking of the candidates who have signed this peace accord, and that was how we began the program, drawing attention to some of the, reactions after, the candidates appended their signature to the peace accord. Listen to this. Candidates, parties doubt peace accord as election campaigns begin. We heard the presidential candidate of the NDC, calling on Nigerians not to voting anyone that abuses the peace accord. We heard the presidential candidate of the AAC doubting the commitment, of the APC to the peace accord because of the absence of Mr. President, even though he was represented. Do you express such worry also as campaigns have now officially begun, Mr. Keria?
Yes, of course. As I said earlier, what Mr. Peter Obi is saying will resonate with many Nigerians. It simply just synchronizes with my earlier opinion that the peace accord looks just like a ritual, a piece of document. Everybody comes, there is the cameras, we roll in. Of course, the optics look good, it looks positive. It will appear as if the candidates, everybody's committing to peaceful democratic process, peaceful elections. But at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, when the elections begin proper, when the campaign begins proper, you just find that many of these candidates become overwhelmed by their own personal emotions. And of course, their own supporters too, they are not able to get the message that the peace accord is supposed to translate, cascade down to their supporters. It is not really these candidates that gets involved in some of the electoral violence. It is their supporters. So after signing the peace accord, I expect the candidates to go back to their political parties, hold an engagement activity with their supporters, and also brief them that there is really no need to be involved in violence, attack anyone, or use acerbic languages, political campaign languages to attack opponents. Just tell people what you can do. It should be issue-based. After all, that is the spirit of the National Peace Committee in setting up the peace accord. Former head of state General Abdulsalami Abubakar and Catholic Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka came together in 2014 to set up the National Peace Committee that eventually gave birth to the peace accord. So what Nigerians expect this time is that let's hope that we see a difference. And of course, what Mr. Peter Obi is saying, that Nigerians should not reward bad behavior. Those who sign the peace accord and then just move against it, when the election begins, that Nigerians should punish such individuals by voting against them during the election. And I think I agree with him. So that is where we are. As long as any agreement or piece of legislation has no enforcement procedure, there is no clear provisions for punishment, then so long are we going to have people just acting with impunity and possibly breaking what they have signed. But as I also said earlier, it's a moral issue. We expect that these politicians will become gentlemen and abide by what they themselves have agreed to by penning their signatures to the accord.
All right. And some would say it's left for their followers, because we could see some of them smiling and embracing each other yesterday. But you know how supporters and followers can be very fanatical, with their support and all. But let's stay with that national peace accord, because one man who also got the attention of many yesterday was the man who is in charge of our electoral process, Professor Joash Amukito, and that's what the Nigerian Tribune leads with his remarks right there at that peace signing yesterday. Nigerian Tribune, it says INEC projects over 100 million registered voters for 2027 poll. INEC projects over 100 million registered voters for 2027 polls, to deploy 1.4 million ad hoc personnel to over 176,000 polling units. The police is warning against armed groups and use of illegal firearms. And then he lists on with the other writers about the peace accord and those who were present and those who were absent. But as of the portal, I think we have about over 93 million Nigerians who have registered, Mr. Keha. With the level of voter apathy we have seen in our elections in recent times, I wonder if you think INEC
can meet that target. Plus, I wonder if you think that the commission is indeed really prepared to handle these elections. Remember, somewhere around 8 to 10 p.m. in the Osun elections, IREF all of a sudden took a break.
Oh yes, this is also part of the general challenge that the electoral umpire is facing. I just hope that the INEC chairman, Professor Joash Amukpiton, will be able to galvanize his staff and ensure that they block all of these hiccups within the system, because we cannot, the 2027 general election is very, very important to Nigerians, you know, and many, I'm sure voters will be interested in coming out to cast their votes next year between January and February. Now, but with regards to whether there will be voter party and the turnout and all of that, I do not think so, because if you look at the demographics in the registration, you have many young people who have entered the voting age actually registering for the elections, and INEC is projecting that at least 1 million Nigerians, you know, we might participate in this election. And if you look at that against the backdrop of what have happened in Osun, in spite of the heavy federal presence, you saw the Senate President, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and more than 10 governors, you know, getting into Osun State to campaign for the candidate of the APC, which is in opposition in Osun State. But of course, at the center, the APC is the ruling party. So with those heavy presence of political bigwigs in Osun State, we still saw that the Osun people, you know, still voted according to their conscience. They did not look at the pressure. For me, I drew a lot of lessons from what have happened in Osun, and if you consider that against what might happen in 2027, it is simply a pointer to the fact that no matter what happens, no matter the pressure that, you know, whether the federal government or the state governments will put on voters, that many Nigerians would want to turn out, would want to come out and vote. Now, what will be galvanizing their interest in voting is the economic realities that we have. You know, whether they are comfortable with their standard of living now might push them to come and participate in the process to determine, you know, who leads them going forward, whether at the federal level or at the state level. So I am not sure that there's going to be a lukewarm participation. I am hoping that Nigerians will, rather than complain, sit back and complain, they should get involved in the process. Osun State have simply proven that their votes will count. So in 2027, I am quite optimistic that the votes will count. And the president himself has spoken very clearly that it is not worth it, you know, to go killing anybody because of votes. And that, if you look at that, if you compare that to what former President Goodluck Jonathan said, that his ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. So that is the kind of rhetoric that we should be seeing, you know, as the campaigns begin. The politicians and candidates should tell their supporters that the ambition, you know, is not worth the blood of any Nigerians. Killing anybody is just not worth it. If indeed you are coming to serve the people, why do you need to kill the same people that you are offering yourself to serve? You know, so that is what it is. So for any of the candidates or political party who is fingered in any kind of violence, for me this morning, my recommendation is that Nigerians should sanction such a candidate and that party and actually vote against them. So if that happens, that will become a lesson to others that, you know, that is not the path to follow, that is not the way to go. So I'm quite upbeat, and I'm very excited this morning that the elections is giving a fresh proposal to Nigerians, to opportunity to Nigerians also to clearly choose the candidate of their choice.
Let's get to the Vanguard newspaper, Mr. Akara. And as a matter of fact, if one of the things I would like to speak to is the issue of the opposition and the ruling party. Everybody is desperate to win this election, and we'll be fooling ourselves if we think that rigging is not part of the plan. That's why the electoral umpire and institutions of state are there to curb some of these things. But whether they will do it or not is a different matter altogether. As 2027 campaigns begin, high hurdles before candidates, parties, so many riders. 8 states announced 20 to 200 million naira permit fees. That's for outdoor advertising. You know, they started this this discrimination by price is a strategy that is used at the subnational level to ensure that their competitors are out of business. And sometimes we feel like we're growing, sometimes it's like we're going 10 steps backward. But I would like you to speak to this headline as well as something that has happened in Osun that everybody is looking, that has not commented on, but some of us who are interested in the process will highlight, because it's caused a problem for us in 2023, and it became an issue because whether President Tinubu won that election square and clean or not, it becomes a controversy because of the delay in upload of results on INEC portal. In Osun, they were doing fantastic. 5 hours in, we got about 70% of the votes on the results on IRF. But all of a sudden, about 2 hours down after that, about 8:42 p.m., I think I monitored it till about 10:08. There was no upload of results. And I think it even went further. Yaga Africa even made a comment to that effect. But INEC has not explained to us what happened. Because at that point, somebody like Davido started screaming that they want to manipulate the remaining 300 and something polling units. I want you to tie that to this headline, sir.
Yes, I agree with the concerns that you have raised, and I also monitored, the upload of the election results. See, INEC should stop explaining to Nigerians. We are tired of these explanations. The new INEC under Professor Mupiton should move away from the traditional approach of INEC trying to explain the internal weaknesses, because once there is an interruption in the upload of results, that immediately raises suspicion that there's something untoward going on. And you cannot justify it. You can't even explain it, because it will mean that there is some kind of pressure. Maybe some phone calls are coming in to stop the process, saying that, the outcome of the election is tilting towards, a particular party and candidate. And therefore, certain pressures are coming in to stop the upload of the results and see if the figures can be tweeted in such a way that can then lead to manipulation to serve a particular end. So for me, that should constitute a criminal offense, because the reverse electoral act is very clear. Now there will be real-time upload of results to IRF. So once you interrupt the process, that is already a breach. It's a violation of the law, of the electoral act itself. So INEC must, from now, between now, they still have some months. They still have about 6 months, 5-6 months ahead of next year's election, to ensure that there is seamless upload, seamless transmission of results from the polling units to IRF, so that everybody can follow from across the states. It is very, very important, to guarantee the credibility of the electoral process, and the process itself should be seen as accountable and transparent. The accountability question is very important, because it is not about coming to explain after, the wrong has been done. Technology is seamless. Once to put in place the right technology, there's no reason to witness any glitch or an interruption of the process. So Nigerians don't want to see that. I'm sure that the election, apart from even Nigerians, the international community is also interested. Do not forget that Nigeria is the biggest black nation on earth, with the biggest black population, on earth. Therefore, whatever happens in Nigeria is going to have a cascading effect on other African countries and the black community around the world. So people are interested in what happens in Nigeria, whether it's the election, whether it has to do with security, or even how we manage our economy. Because if anything goes wrong, the population of Nigerians that will go across the border, putting pressure on other countries, it will almost become unimaginable. Now, with regards to the huge, the humongous fee that is being charged by the state governments on outdoor advertising, between 20 million and 100 million.
200.
Apparently, that's clearly outrageous. And so the electoral process itself is already priced beyond, the average Nigerian who has good intention to come and genuinely serve the people. Where will anybody get that kind of money for outdoor advertising alone? Not to talk of radio, television, and newspaper adverts. So these are the challenges. So gradually we are monetizing our political our political choices beyond the reach of, patriotic Nigerians who have worked so hard and who have not stolen any money, and therefore they cannot participate in the political process. But I also have a warning. If you look at what has happened in Osun State, the governor himself did say that his big boss were being brought down by other political parties and some party talks, but he just told his supporters not to worry, that his work will speak for himself. So for any governor or anybody who thinks that if people do not pull billboards, do not pay this humongous amount to erect billboards, that that is going to confer any advantage. I doubt, because Nigerians can now see.
Exactly.
If you have performed, Nigerians will see and you'll be rewarded. But if you did not, billboards will not help anyone.
Sakaya, well said. So we need to prepare for a lot of eventualities. For us, we're praying and hoping that we're not there. We're praying and hoping that there will be a day when our institutions will be really independent. INEC will truly be independent. We're not there yet. Police will truly be independent.
Absolutely.
We're not there yet. The military, they're not there yet. Judiciary, we're not there yet. So we need to plan around this Hercules heel that we're dealing with. So because this election, there is a plan by the politicians to do what politicians do. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, so I'm not going to use my mouth to say it. Our job is to point out what these things are, and then everybody be on the lookout for their own polling units. But thank you, Mr. Ego Akaya, member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors, for always coming through for us. Thank you, sir.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you, Geoffrey, and have a pleasant day.
You too. We have a long list of big conversation right here that has to do with the interest of the nation as the campaign seasons begin, but we'll get started with that peace accord. Join us in just a moment.